All right, now we do tend to think of FDI as just the big ticket numbers that get rolled up into grand economic schemes, but in fact, FDI can play a role in helping small businesses from the really startup to the scale-up level, and we are going to discuss that now. We have got a great moderator for this session. Our next moderator has been involved in public investment. She's involved in private investment. In her native Croatia, she's been helping companies to prepare, kind of get themselves ready for when the big wave of European investment came in after joining the EU. She is currently the Assistant Managing Director at the Zagreb Development Agency in Croatia. She is well known to this community. One more time, let's hear it from the Croatia crowd for Helen Matuza. There we go. She is going to be joined today. We have a series, let's see if we got the names up. Good, we'll take what we have, even though we have had some substitutions. Renata Bergig is going to be in, founder of the Social Impact Fund, a big supporter and longtime friend of the WBF. Happy to put my hand out and welcome you on stage. There we go. Fantastic. We also have Sakari Okarainen, co-founder and COB of Confidentum from Finland. There we go. Are you from Helsinki? Nope. Another
central part of Finland.
Central part of Finland. Maybe we'll hear a little bit about that in the panel and what's happening over there. I only know Helsinki. Loved it. And subbing in, we have Leonid Nakov, who is a director for the Center of Economic Research at the University of Economy in Skoye. Thank you so much for substituting. We appreciate you coming to lend your expertise on short notice. Helena, take it away.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for introducing our panelists. So you warned me before that we are short of time, so if somebody wants to pitch in with the questions during the sessions, please feel free. We'll keep it short and sweet. Thank you, dear panelists. It's an interesting topic from the public sector, if I may add so, but also in the introductory note of this panel, we saw that the governments have diverse strategies of how to support and attract FDI to support startups at different funding stages. India was shown as a good practice example, but what I would like to talk about is Finland and Canada as good practice examples, and to see how the ecosystem is working in Macedonia, North Macedonia, and Croatia. So, Sakari, if we can start with you. So the investments in Finland by foreign companies increased by 44% in the last year, according to the last data. And since 2010, direct investment in Finnish startups has decoupled. Yeah. So can you explain briefly how is your system organized? And how do you attract FDI into startups?
First of all, by the way, do you hear me clearly? Hopefully. Finland is a small country, and when I was preparing to this panel session, I realized that there are lots of F letters. Lots of F letters in Finland. Finland is a small country. We all know family, friends, and fools. But in Finland, we also have Business Finland. Then we have Finvera, which is a state-owned bank. Then we have FIBAN, Finnish Business Angel Network, and FCVA, Finnish Venture Capital Association. A lot of Fs. And because we are a small country, basically all of those have evolved hand in hand during the last 10 years. And now we are seeing the results of it. FIBAN is now celebrating its 10th operating year, and they are closely working with the Finnish Venture Capital Association, and also with the Business Finland. Business Finland is basically the Finnish government. And the government has taken a role that, how should I say, the Finnish government won't be away, or it will be nearby, helping these private investors or associations to develop their market. So the government's policy is to support and fill the gaps whenever needed. and is specializing in really early stage, which is not so interested to investors.
How does the FDI fit in? What's the framework for attracting FDI into startups?
Well, basically, FIBAN and the FCVA, they have done the job. As the market has developed, the business angels, they are now looking for international partners. And of course, not only FIBAN, but the whole Scandinavia is coming together. And most of the FDIs is coming from the Scandinavian countries, naturally.
In Journal of Risk and Financial Management, some of the analytics show that the policymakers often are afraid that the VC investments will transfer the majority of economic activity to the investor country. Does that happen in Finland?
Well, we are not that worried about it, because we are happy to get FDIs in Finland. And when they come to Finland, they see the good education, vibrant ecosystems, they won't go. And even though they go away, the expertise still remains. So it will benefit. It's a win-win situation, actually.
And in your opinion, does the FDI happen mostly in early stage? Because some also research shows that the FDI is focused maybe on later stages and associated with larger rounds of investments?
Yeah. FDIs focus mainly on the later stage, of course, naturally. But being a small country, our venture capital companies, they have been so small. And of course, the business angels' average investment, they have arisen, so they have come together. And now, together, the FCVA and FIBAN, they are reaching the point that they can be closer to the international bigger investors. And there's a boom in fund building at the moment in Finland, more and more, and even bigger funds, even regional funds where the municipalities and even the government is involved. So this whole infrastructure is changing and developing.
Thank you, Sakari. I will have some more questions for you later. And Leonid, if you can maybe explain the situation in North Macedonia, but having in mind what happened in Canada. So in early 90s, the government and the VCs started pumping money into tech entrepreneurs until the bubble burst. And there was no good deal flows and no good investors afterwards. But now in 2017, actually, the FDI is more than 50% of total investments through venture capital in Canada. So they built the system all over again. So can you maybe see some similarities with Northern Macedonia or what is happening in North Macedonia?
Thank you, Helena, for your profound question. Frankly speaking, it is our privilege to compare my country with Canada. So when you illustrate the circumstances in Canada, the first thing that came to my mind is how many years we will need to achieve this level of economic development, but not only nominally, but in real figures. Why I'm speaking? Because nowadays our focus is placed on integrating the system for promoting of businesses, startups, scale-ups, early-stage investment, and so on, in order to be attractive for angel investing. So we are aware of the fact that while integrating the national mechanisms as well as the legislative acts, functioning of research centers, then NGOs, etc., we need to have a holistic approach which will analyze the integral effects from foreign direct investments which are made, which are profoundly directed towards bigger companies, meaning corporations. And especially if we analyze in terms of the phase of the life cycle, they are not in a major term focused on early phases of business development. They are focused on so-called advanced phases for upper levels of scaling up the business. What is nowadays happening are two major initiatives which are profoundly analyzed. The first one of them is related to the function of so-called convertible loan, which is perceived as a mechanism for transferring the loans which are given to certain scale-ups and startups in a certain period of time while they are facing not only financial but also managerial difficulties under a mutual consent to be converted into an equity participation. And the second one is eliminating the restrictions for reopening a new startup while somebody is currently an establisher of a startup, in terms that if he possesses minor than 30%, then the state thinks, it is still in the process of analyzing, to enable him to open another startup because it is perceived as not being a dominant ownership, whereas it depends on a lot of factors in order to identify whether 30% is influential ownership. On the other side, the functioning of the business angel networks proves that we have three networks of business angels, in which a majority of angel investors are expecting to have a so-called identify approach, meaning we have a huge debate whether to go in a direction of a separate law for angel investing or accommodating certain articles within the current 8 legal acts which are related to angel investing. And in this context, we will start with adopting changes, especially in terms of easing the entering and exiting of these startups. And the second dimension which will be focused will be the mechanism for transferring of applicative knowledge, skills, and experience, which should be the focus of the process of increasing the capacities of the owners and managers in startups and scale-ups.
Thank you. I do have some more questions. So I think the measures for supporting business angel investments, you're going to do it within the existing Investment Promotion Act, I presume?
At the moment, the predominant opinion relates to the fact that legal acts which prescribe the functioning of angel investors within startups and scale-ups should focus on articles which are limiting for a broader investing in these modalities of companies, whereas on the other side, it is intensively in the process of identifying the integral potential for adopting a completely new law for angel investing, because we are analyzing the two fundamental approaches. One is the approach of the countries that have particular law for angel investing, and if we see that they move from 20% up to 75% tax stimuluses, and if we observe the approaches to identifying the value for tax calculation, we have differences compared to the majority of European countries which adopt changes in the current legislative act. So the analysis is always comprised in which approach would be more efficient to enable a faster approach of this kind of informal risky capital.
And are you going Are you considering maybe to open the market for foreign business angels the same way as for your national business angels?
Nominally, my country is intending to open the market, but we are aware of the fact that in order to open the market, we have to have markets for early stage investors, then markets for startups, then markets for scale-ups, which is not in a final phase of applying. So this is perceived through the mechanisms for identifying specific measure and instruments for supporting, which usually are comprised of three fundamental categories. The first one is so-called financial stimuluses, which are related to a valuable one and identifying the percentage for paying taxes, customs, this segment. The second one is so-called managerial stimuluses, which should be focused in this following period, because we are aware of the fact that the majority of owners of these small startups and scale-ups are not so familiar in managerial techniques, business models, analytical concepts, and so on and so on. And the third one, of course, relates to following the latest technological advancements, especially in the segment of ICT technologies, especially having in mind that it will decrease the level of costs which are not connected to the core business function. So this should be the pathway which is created in North Macedonia in order to reach the phase of attractiveness for markets for early stage investors, startups, and scale-ups.
Thank you, Leonid. Renata, we had a lot of questions. You can answer all of them on the example of Croatia. So what is the early stage scene in Croatia, FDI in Croatia in terms of financing startup scale-ups?
Okay, I have decided to do it in a form of a story of beautiful Croatia. So Croatia is a country of beautiful nature, of creative individuals, of great football players, of the country with the first WBNF office receiving rewards on the stages, but Croatia has no mechanisms that are set for the foreign direct investors. And we are in the 2020. And we have been a member of the EU for 7 years already. And it is a tragedy of Croatia. And this is why we are so active in the WBNF, and because we are advocating for change. What happened to our country is that we were, of course, also affected by the war in the former Yugoslavia, where we lost the step behind other Central and Eastern European countries. And after that, our governments, whether they were left or right, were somehow never talented for economics and for entrepreneurship. They would and I'm telling you, from my perspective, I have spent the last 30 years being in business in Croatia and living and doing everything from Croatia. So, on the other hand, Croatia is lucky because of the coast and because of the tourism, and this is the percentage of the tourism in the GDP is extremely high. It is too high and it is too dangerous if something happens. But tourism is easy money, and tourism is making people lazy and killing their entrepreneurial spirit. And this is also the case, one of the reasons. The other reason, after we were out of the war in the 90s, recovering, they were private equity investments, let's say, foreign investments, but they were mainly banks and retail chains coming and buying existing chains and positioning themselves and growing their network. So this was it. In such an atmosphere, it was very difficult to be an entrepreneur, but we had brilliant entrepreneurs, and we have a few examples of great startups and of people who survived and who built it in such an environment. And whatever foreign investments they would get, they would got them alone and not with the help of the government. So we have here in the room Stevica, who is today runs a venture capital fund. He is one of the examples who got the foreign investment by himself. I'm another one. I've gained this investment from European Investment Fund for the Social Impact Venture Fund. And this is the fourth fund, in addition to what Dražan was telling in the previous panel. But this EIF money is foreign direct investment, because it didn't belong to the Croatian quota. So me with my team, we were competing among all European teams for this investment. And this is a story, and this makes us very motivated to change it. And but Croatia will need to start working on it now. They have been realizing it. And then another important consequence that we have is a brain drain. So we have talents, ideas, and we have the startups, and they get incubated and from friends, family, whoever, peers. But then they would leave because they went after money, and the money was not, the risk money was not available in our country. So this is why our participation in the WBNF really means a lot to us, and we are on a good way to advocate, to change that. And I also have to thank the regional government. Helena is a representative of the Zagorje County regional government. Zagorje County regional government is a partner for the WBNF Office of Croatia. So it's an example where WF was brought to the country and backed by the regional government, and not by the government itself, not by the Ministry of Economics, as it should be. So I'm really sorry I could not for my criticism, but I think it should be said, and I really invite everyone to cooperate with us, with our office, because we are now changing things, and we have established this good good atmosphere and trying to help the entrepreneurial investment ecosystem in Croatia.
Thank you, Renata. But let's now one step back. So, and from your entrepreneurial position, and now a partner in the VC fund, what should the government do? I was really, when preparing for this panel, I was really trying hard to find a mechanism for foreign capital and for risk capital or for any other foreign direct investment. I didn't find it. They are instruments for women, for small companies, big companies, tech companies, software companies, but they're the same whether you are coming from abroad or you're a Croatian company. So it means that nobody tackled that problem. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. We have a country for 30 years and we don't have it yet. So I really cannot name a single one. Sakari, just to wrap things up, yeah, Andrew's waving. I think we have 5 more minutes. So just a quick overview of the FDI, early stage FDI support for the startup scene, and does it benefit local or foreign markets more? What's your opinion?
You meant short.
It's short.
Okay. Well, first of all, you sent the message to your government.
To the world.
Yeah, to the world. In Finland, particularly, we should concentrate on the reducing the red tape. I mean, it's not the money that counts, but the talent. There's a huge competition of talent around the world, and luckily the government has taken steps. We have the startup entrepreneur permit that anyone who comes to Finland can apply a permit to establish a startup really, really quickly. So that kind of things the government should do more, ease the way. But the public sector's role is in the really, really early beginning, small finances until the startups are ready for business angel networks and VCs. That's what we are aiming.
Thank you. Leonid, your one take-home message?
Yes, I think that if we want a higher participation of foreign direct investments in startups and scale-ups, then we should have an integrated model in which every side, the government, then the investor, the startup that is accepting the investment, and research centers that prepare the field for increasing the capacity for angel investment should have a clear understanding of their role in the entire system, not only in financial measures, but also in other social influences that these investments are making in our states.
Thank you. Renata?
Well, I hope that the better times are coming now, and it is visible now after we are for the 7th year in the member of the EU. The incubators are coming up, the accelerators are coming up, and as of last year, we have a first venture fund in Croatia and first risk money. So we are really all in the ecosystem trying hard and helping each other. And really, we don't work as a competitions, but we cooperate in order that the businesses get faster access to smart capital, and in order that the investors get quality deal flows. And I see better times, and it's evolving now.
Thank you all. So let's stay positive, you know, look at Finland and do our models, as Leonid said, both in North Macedonia and in Croatia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.